Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 is Paw Patrol the movie, making $4.005 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $31 million and its worldwide total to $81 million. So the movie continued to hold strong this weekend. It fell just 40%, which is obviously a good hold, and it just recently surpassed the $30 million mark domestically, obviously, which is good since the movie cost $26 million to make, so that's obviously a pretty good sign for how well this movie. But another good sign for how well this movie's doing is that it's at 81 million worldwide, which is way more than the doubling point. And if it keeps continuing to hold as well as it is doing right now, I can see it crossing 100 million worldwide, which would be fantastic, and I think it will get there at some point very soon. And even though I don't think it's gonna be quite as big as some of the other big animated films post-pandemic, like Boss Baby, The Croods, or Raya the Last Dragon, I can still see this movie surpassing other family films like Tom and Jerry or Peter Rabbit 2, and that's honestly pretty good, especially for a movie like this that's specifically made for toddlers, and that it was also released on a streaming service, that it was able to double its budget at the very least, which is obviously very good considering it is a very cheap movie to make. And again, even though it does look like things are slowing down for this movie, it's already below 5 million. I can still see this movie hanging around in the top 5 for maybe a couple more weeks, considering, again, no sort of competition in terms of family films until October 1st. So things, despite this movie not doing nearly as well as other films, it's looking pretty good for this movie, and I think things will continue to be good for the Paw Patrol. Number 4 is Jungle Cruise, making 4.01 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 105 million and a worldwide total of 192 million. So once again, the movie continues to hold strong. It held so strong, in fact, that it was actually in the same place as it was last week, which is amazing. And while it will most certainly not make nearly as much as Quiet Place Part 2, I do think it will be able to get to 200 million worldwide, as it is sitting just 8 million away from that total, which is the initial production budget at the very least. So at least it can recuperate its budget as opposed to doubling it, since, well, it was available to watch on Disney Plus for $30 and we're in a pandemic. But I think that is more than acceptable, as Cruella was also able to do that earlier this year. So yeah, all in all, another good weekend for this movie, and very happy it's doing as well it has been for the past several weeks now. Number 3 is Free Guy, making 8.7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 94 million and a worldwide total of 247 million. Now, it is very obvious that this is going to become the 6th film domestically to cross $100 million, behind, of course, Godzilla vs. Kong, Jungle Cruise, Quiet Place Part 2, F9, and Black Widow, which is fantastic. I love that we're seeing more and more of these movies making 100 million in the US alone, and the fact that they're coming up so faster and quickly now is very good, as it's showing that if you put out a good movie that people actually want to see and release them in theaters only, people will go and support the movie, and will continue to do so by telling everyone else to see it as it's in theaters, which is obviously the message we should be taking from this obviously, Jungle Cruise, and another movie, well, two other movies actually, which we'll talk about very soon. And another thing to mention is that the film surpassed 200 million worldwide, and easily more than doubled its 100 to 125 million dollar budget, which is incredible. I was surprised that this movie was able to do so faster than Jungle Cruise. I thought Jungle Cruise would beat this movie to the punch, but no, it was the other way around. which is fantastic. This movie is now a box office success, so good job, guys. I'm sure everyone is very happy. Well, obviously, everyone's very happy. They're talking about making a sequel, but I'm sure they're even more happy that this movie is now an official box office success, and it will continue to do so for its remaining weeks in a theatrical release only. So once again, good job, guys. Well done. Number 2 is Candyman, making 10 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 39 million and a worldwide total of 50 million. So despite some very stiff competition this weekend, this movie was able to hold strong, just falling 52% this weekend, and now that brings the total closer to 40 million, which is around the doubling point for the film's 22 million budget. But it was also already able to double its budget since the movie's already at 50 million. So right now, this movie is in the clear. It's already more than doubled its budget, and it's looking like it's going to be one of the bigger horror films released this year. It is guaranteed already going to surpass stuff like Don't Breathe 2 and Old. And once again, it's looking like it's going to profit a lot from this. So another solid weekend for Candyman. It's doing very well, and another factor into this whole horror doing very well during the pandemic thesis that everyone has, because it's, well, it's really true. A lot of these horror films are doing really well to their cheap budgets, and this one is another point to that. So once again, good on you guys. You made a solid horror film and people are supporting it. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, making $75 million this weekend, on its opening weekend, mind you, domestically, and is sitting at 127 million worldwide. So obviously, this movie crushed the Labor Day weekend box office opening record, as Labor Day weekend is usually a dead zone for movies. It's not really a gold mine for huge box office opening weekends, but this film completely crushing it by like around $40 million and in the middle of a pandemic in theaters only is astounding. And also, this is now the second biggest opening weekend for any movie released post-pandemic, topping F9 The Fast Saga's 70 million by a mere 5 million, and is sitting behind Black Widow's 80 million by, well, 5 million. Just perfectly balanced. Just, I like that. Nice symmetry right there. And of course, this came in way over many people's expectations. Many people thought this was going to make as low as 40 million, and that was clearly not the case, as the fans came out and supported the movie like crazy, and it's been getting great reviews, and they've been marketing it crazy, so obviously the fans were going to support it, and they will continue to support it, as it's still crushing it as far as daily numbers go, because for the 4-day weekend it jumped up to 90 million, which is insane. That's a huge jump up for a Labor Day opening weekend. Again, that is something that rarely happens around this time of the year for movies, and the fact that this movie did it was stupendous. And of course, this sent out a message not just to moviegoers but also studios, that once again, if you promote the movie and you release a good movie people want to see and it ends up being good, they'll go out to see it. And studios, as far as I know, are starting to listen, because recently, earlier this weekend, Sony announced that Venom Let There Be Carnage will no longer be opening on the 15th of October and will be moving up to the first day of October, which is very good, as it's looking like the rest of the month is going to be pretty, well, to put it lightly, dead for movies and box office. So the fact that the movie is moving up a couple weeks is a good sign, obviously. But anyways, this is just a fantastic opening. I'm sure everyone is happy about this. I'm happy about it. I know Simu Liu is very happy for how this movie is doing, as he has been talking about it crazy on social media. And obviously, theater owners are happy, and Disney is happy, as right now they haven't said anything about Eternals or Spider-Man, and that's obviously very good sign. And of course, other studios are impressed with how this movie is doing. Again, Sony moved Venom up 2 weeks, which is impressive. And again, seeing how the rest of the month is looking rather slow for movies opening in theaters, I think the film will have short drop offs and will continue to hold strong. But as for right now, it's a Marvel opening, and it's a pretty damn good one for now, at especially considering we're in like a stage in the pandemic where things are not looking so good, and the fact that this movie did so well is amazing. So once again, great job, Shang-Chi. You revived the box office. And those are the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend. And normally, this would be the part where I would discuss the new releases hitting theaters this weekend. And while I know there are 2 specifically wide releases coming out, The Card Counter and Malignant, due to the very little advertising I've seen for both of those movies and the little buzz I've heard for both of those movies, I'm not sure if they're gonna make enough to enter the top 5. It's been a while since this something like this has happened, but I've seen nothing, virtually nothing, for either of these movies, which is insane because they're coming out this weekend. And I wish I could say I hope they would do better, but I just don't see it. But if they do manage to make it into the top 5, I'll be sure to talk about them and how well they do, as well as the rest of the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.